Hello, everybody, and welcome to Movie Buffs. This is a show that covers the best action films of all time. I'm your host, Cisco, aka Misfit Minded. You can find me on Twitter at Rampage_Misfit and at my movie pages at Misfit_Minded on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Yes, and I'm your host, Shani B, and you can find me on all the socials at Shani B Movies. Yeah, I mean, you already know that before we get started, I just watched Mad Cronenberg and De Palma over these past couple weeks, so no
I'm
new
jealous.
movies.
I'm super jealous.
I did go see that new Micah Monroe movie, Watcher. It's a really small movie, kind of had Hitchcock vibes in it. Pretty cool.
Okay.
And just want to shout out because her real name is Dylan Buckley, which I just find to be hilarious. So shout out to Dylan Buckley, a.k.a. Micah Monroe. Thank you for being a scream queen.
There you go. There you go. What was your favorite new Cronenberg? Because I know you said you were watching some ones you hadn't seen before. I just have to get...
Ooh, of the noobs, I think, honestly, like, weirdly, I really like Shivers. I really like Shivers. Yeah, like, I don't know why.
That was his first movie, too, I believe. That was his first one, yeah.
Yeah, I just feel like there's something so grounded and fun and brave or something. And it's like we were talking about just a moment ago. Like, I just need that out of filmmakers and I need that out of a movie, even if the movie isn't like reinventing the wheel or whatever, you know?
Yeah. Ivan Reitman produced that.
Dude, yes.
Ivan Reitman.
Hell yeah.
That with him. And so broke, so on a budget that apartment building was where he actually lived at the time.
Amazing.
And once he got in trouble with the censors afterwards, I think that was the same building they kicked him out because I don't know, the landlady wasn't a fan of what he did with Shivers.
That's what I was wondering. Yes, thank you for that article.
Yeah, it's in the New Yorker. If you guys are curious, they did a whole profile on Cronenberg, and it's amazing. It talks a lot about the early Cronenberg stuff, and then like him doing body horror and returning to body horror with the new one, which I still haven't seen yet. I still want to see it, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's been hard. It's been
randomly.
Busy.
Are you a fan by any chance of the Dead Zone that he did with Christopher Walken?
Oh,
it's like
I love it. Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's like a one that when I tell people David Cronenberg directed it, they're like, that can't be right. Like,
no, that was like
somehow.
That was like his first like mainstream like movie. And it was a Stephen King story.
Hell yeah. And perfectly melding like this desire for there to be something kind of going inside your body, but it now transitioning into more of like a parapsychological thing. And I feel like he moves into a different kind of body horror after the Dead Zone, sliding towards maybe doing more just drama work. And he doesn't have to lose it completely because I feel like he never stops making the physical stuff he wants to make. Like, Existenz was crazy. Not my fave because it needed more time. You know, like it needed more time. It deserved more
I think
effects.
It's underrated though.
I wanted it to be longer.
More people should see it. You know,
totally.
It's pretty slept on. But it was like one where I think we rented it. Like me and my brothers are like back in the day, you know, just like randomly, like this seems like a cool premise, and then afterwards we were just like, what the fuck, like. I don't even know if we knew it was Cronenberg at the time or not, you know, but we just were like, what a ride, like what a wild ride that movie was. So, yeah, right. I mean, that's the thing with Cronenberg. It's like you always know you're going to get something you've never seen before, and that a lot of people are going to hate it. I actually just watched someone posted a throwback review of Crash, that Cronenberg movie. Mm-hmm. With on Siskel and Ebert, when Siskel and Ebert were doing their show, and Siskel hated it. Siskel hated it and was like, you know, being like, "Oh, this is the biggest, you know, time waster." And Ebert, like, I would say Ebert just like shut him down. Like why do you hate it? Like, I think a lot of people are just gonna hate it because they don't have the patience to try and understand it, and because we're uncomfortable with sexuality in this country. Like, he was just going in, and I was like, oh man, I miss Raj Miss Raj going up, shutting
so
it down
true.
and sticking up when he liked the movie, whether I agreed or not. If he liked the movie a lot, he was gonna defend that shit. Like,
well, and in a way that's like respectful to the filmmakers and the viewer too. That's what I appreciate about both of them and the Discord they used to have, is that they're just so capable of making sure that it's still looked at as a piece of art, but also totally debated and up for interpretation and everything a viewer wants. Man, I miss that so much.
Yeah, not every Cronenberg is going to every Cronenberg is going to hit for you, but that's the thing about auteurs is, you know, you're not going to absolutely love each one, but hopefully there's one that like just does it for you because they're taking all these swings, you know what I mean? And like one will connect with you harder than the other ones.
And he's done so much, you know, like compared to some of the other auteurs, he has done so many films. So there's something really cool about that too, that like he never really has to sacrifice his visual anything, because he can find a way to like do one for you, do one for me, and still make an amazing movie.
I love his gangster movies, you know, History of Violence and Eastern Promises are like, they're top 5 like Cronenberg movies probably for me. So it's crazy that he can be like, you know, do like The Fly and The Dead Zone, like you said. Which I was able to see The Dead Zone in a theater like a few years ago. There was a Stephen King festival and it was amazing.
So dope. Man, that's so fucking cool. Nice.
It was great.
Nice.
Yeah, I really like Dead Zone. That's another like underrated like Stephen King movie that doesn't get brought up enough like in his, you know, filmography, but it's really solid. And someone was just on a podcast talking about it, like how he thought it was better than the book or like on the same level, just because the concept of like seeing into the future is like such a like made for movie, you know what I mean? It's like because of editing, you can edit in those visions and it's like perfect for a movie, and that's why he thought it was better. And I was I haven't read the book. I think I have it somewhere, but I'm like, that's an interesting point. Like totally. I can see why, you know, that would be like more interesting on a film level than you know, say a book.
Totally, yeah. So. It's fucking crazy how many Stephen King adaptations there are too. Like that in and of itself is pretty amazing.
Yeah, he's his own brand now. Yeah, he's his own brand. Like even Stranger Things like owes a lot to Stephen King when I watch it. You know what I mean? It's like, but I did watch the new season of Stranger Things, by the way. It was awesome. I haven't know if you have gotten to it yet.
I haven't had time to catch it because I'm gonna for sure binge it and like then cry after, because I think it's all over.
You're
right?
Gonna love it.
I can't wait.
You're gonna love it. It's definitely the gnarliest season yet too. Like the gore level and the violence is like,
that's pretty awesome. I feel like
which I thought. That's why 3 was my favorite, because I thought 3 brought it to another level, and I was like, okay, like, you know, this is my shit. And then 4 did the same thing again. Like, damn, I'm surprised they got away with some of this stuff.
Dude, yes, I feel like
I loved it.
They like had kids grow up alongside of it, so they could just be ready for the violence progressively, and I just appreciate that so much.
Yeah, you kind of have to. It's like the Harry Potter thing, like when you know, Prisoner of Azkaban. It's like they're kind of like they're older now. Like we can get rougher now.
Exactly.
With the you know, the tone and the violence. So I think that's where they're at for sure.
Awesome.
And they said volume 2, or maybe they're talking about, I think season 5 is the last season.
Oh, okay.
And they said like that's going to be like the darkest season yet, they said, or whatever. So it's like,
oh man,
after 4, like 4 is pretty dark.
Really?
Like I'm like curious to where they're going to go next. And then the second half of 4 drops like next month too. So I want to see where they end this season too.
Okay, good.
A lot happens in this first half. I'll just say that.
I'm so excited. I'm glad that it's not over already, because I was preparing myself to like literally say goodbye at 4. So I'm glad to hear that there will be a 5 and that 4 like has a lot going on. Because, you know, like when you start to get out into the 4th, 5th, 6th season of a show, it's really just a hangout by then. So I'm glad to hear it's not quite doing that.
Mm-hmm. And they're older, like they all look so old now. It's hilarious. Like I meant, like
crazy.
My mom was like walked in when me and my brother were watching it, and she was just like, that guy looks like 30. Like
30. Yeah, they all look so much older. It's crazy.
They look like 25, and I was like, yeah, the pandemic really screwed with the timelines for sure. Like, it's like Endgame when everyone got snapped back, but some of the kids like got older or whatever. Like that's what it is.
Yep, that's just what we have to do. Right. Oh my gosh.
They had an excuse. They did have a legit excuse.
Yeah. And
so,
yeah, like they're beloved. So we make a lot of allowances, and I've loved watching them grow up. So no sweat.
Yeah, they're all good actors. Like they're all solid. They
Love
bring
them.
it every season. So as long as they keep doing it, and there's some new characters this season too. Like they keep adding
Let's
new
go.
people too that I like. So
awesome.
Yeah. The only thing I watched, I didn't watch a lot of new stuff either. I watched. I'm almost done with Pistol, which is like the new Danny Boyle TV show about the Sex Pistols. It's on FX and Hulu.
Sick. Okay.
It's pretty dope. Like I only have like one episode left. It's pretty short. It's like six episodes, I want to say. So I only have like one left. But I mean, I'm a huge fan of the Sex Pistols. I wrote like a paper on them. So like a lot of the stuff that they're covering is like, you know, just I already knew. But like the way that Danny Boyle, like you talk about, like his style of filmmaking, and it was bringing me back to like, you know, 28 Days Later, like that, you know, just super crazy, and like the cutting and I could see it being like too much for some people, but like because it's the Sex Pistols, it's like so perfect. It's like so punk. It's so like, you know, it's like there's sex, there's violence. It's like everybody in the show is fucked up. It's like it's definitely like you have to be in the right state of mind to watch it because it's a lot. It definitely is a lot. Like these characters are like their lives are so nuts. But yeah, if you like the Sex Pistols or like want to know some, you know, rock history, I'm loving it so far. So I think it's great.
Awesome. Yeah. God, TV is so hard for me to do, but I always appreciate your recommendations and like learning what good TV is on so I can stay in the know, even though I can't necessarily watch. So
me too. I just remember I was like watching, I don't know what I was watching. Like the only TV I watched probably basketball or something. And there was just like a commercial for it. And I was like, wait, Sex Pistols? And it was like Danny Boyle, made by Danny Boyle. And I was like, and Danny Boyle did it?
Yep, I'm there.
I gotta watch it. And the guy who plays Johnny Rotten is like so good. Like he's such a good actor. He nailed it.
Sick.
Sid Vicious too. I mean, all of them do, but yeah, I thought the guy who played Johnny for sure. Like he was like one of the highlights too. But and then I watched Goodfellas today because R.I.P. Ray Liotta.
Of course,
it's still an amazing movie. I just was like, some of the shots are just like, you cannot get better than Scorsese during that time period. It's just insane. Some of the stuff he was doing with the camera, you know, the Coco Cabana shot, like there's a shot where it's like he's filming it from a mirror, like two people are moving a mirror and he's shooting it like through the mirror, and it's just like little shit I never noticed before, and I was like, god damn, Scorsese is just flexing on everybody in this movie. Like it's just not even fair. Like, you know, barring all of the great performances, all of the music choices, you know, just the pacing of it too. It's like a 2.5 hour movie, and like for Scorsese's one of the only people where he can make a movie like that and it feels so short. It feels so quick. Like, I watched it this morning and it just flew by. Like I was just like, I don't know how he does it. It's
but it says something.
Yeah, it's all of his movies like that. Like even like Casino, I feel the same way. You know, Wolf of Wall Street, they're all like pushing 3 hours, and you know, he takes you on that up and down journey. And you know, I think like when I was like younger, I didn't really like the second half as much because I just didn't like, you know, you're not supposed to, because it's like the downfall. You know, he even says it like, this is the bad time. You know, but like now that I've grown older, I kind of like appreciate that you know, the risk that you had to take to do that, you know, and like the main character like ends on a sour note, and you know, now I'm a schnook. I ordered spaghetti and meatballs and got ketchup.
Oh man,
God.
it's
so good.
Yeah, it's so good.
Ray Liotta is one of our best. Like it's crazy that like he didn't get an Oscar for that performance, because he carries like the whole movie pretty much. Like I would say his performance more than anybody. I mean, there's good. I mean, Joe Pesci too. I think Joe Pesci got nominated for it. But
it's so funny how much they love Joe Pesci. Like the Academies loves Joe Pesci.
Yeah.
It's so good.
That scene too, I had to rewind it back because it was just too good. Like, funny how? Funny like a clown? Like I amuse you? Like, watch like Ray Liotta like just shitting his pants in that scene. It's so good. Like, he's legit scared that he's like, and then he just like, get the fuck out of here. He's like, you almost had me.
Yep. Yeah, that's so good. God. Yeah. To just reflect on like the great filmmakers HBO, and the great actors.
Wants to watch it.
Yes, where the good stuff is.
So good.
Also where Bourne is, if you're ready to slide over segue wise.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, awesome.
Let's do it. Today we're talking about the 2002 film The Bourne Identity. If you haven't seen it, it's about an assassin with no memory of who he is, killing one hitman after another on his quest to determine his true identity. Hence the title of the movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, are you a fan of this movie, Shani B? What do you love? What do you hate? Tell me about it.
I fucking love this movie. I love this movie. I love so much about this movie, you know, from the filmmaking to the writing to the storytelling through the performances, the action. Like, this is just such a good movie. You know, it starts where it needs to start for us to go on the appropriate journey. And, you know, to speak to what you're saying about Goodfellas, like this one too it's a little over 2 hours and it feels like it just started when we get to the final sequences, which is, you know, something I love to be reminded of. And I love I guess just how like this can be a big studio action film, but have some really grounded like self-reflection in it.
Yeah.
And how that is in the filmmaking as well. You know, he can speak to himself in other languages to determine who he is or trying to figure out who he is. And it like makes me think of Moon Knight and all these other things that are informed by, you know, not knowing who you are inside. And man, I love this shit, you know, like I love all the hitmen stuff, the espionage stuff, the quick camera cuts. Like, it was so good to rewatch. What about you? What do you love?
Yeah, it's one that I can always go back to and put onto, just like Goodfellas. So that's a good like point. Yeah, I love that. Like a lot of the stuff that you said. I think like the central kind of like romance subplot is like a problem in a lot of these action movies that we talk about. And I do remember one episode that I pointed that The Bourne Identity is like one of my favorite ones, which we'll get into. But I really do like the fine line that they handled in this movie with that. Thought it was really well done. I like, you know, Matt Damon kicking ass, like just, you know, as they say in 40-year-old virgin, Paul Rudd says, you know, I always thought he was kind of a wimp, but in this movie he kicks ass. Which is like, it's so true. It's like everyone knows him as Good Will Hunting. I mean, I love Good Will Hunting, don't get me wrong, but you know, when it's like that thing of you hear someone's going to be in an action movie and you're like, really, Damon? And he proved everybody wrong for, you know, 4 movies and all the other action stuff that he did after this. You know what I mean? Like he did so much stuff after this.
Totally. And he was working so hard in the 90s to basically show his versatility. And this is an amazing culmination of it. Yeah. Because, you know, like in Courage Under Fire, he was like 119 pounds or some crazy ass shit to like look like a heroin addict. And then for him to like show up in Bourne at like 31, totally cut, but like still pretty skinny, to, you know, the beginning of a franchise where he's going to be like so buff later was amazing to see too.
Right. Exactly.
He looked like a little boy to me this time around. I was like, damn, he's so young.
He is. He's real young.
It's just amazing because I remember being like, he's a real man in this one. He's like really grown up since Good Will Hunting when, you know, I was a young person
still a baby
watching
face,
this.
Still a baby face in this. And he still does look super young in this one too. Yeah, I love the car chases. I love the action, how it's shot, which we'll get into too with the filmmaking.
Fuck yeah.
There's just, like you said, the amnesia. That's the other thing too, is the amnesia plot is like something that I feel like is overused in like soap opera-y, you know what I mean? Like it could go sideways like real quick, but again, like this one I think handles it pretty well given the circumstances, and that's a lot, you know, due to the fact that Matt Damon is like so committed and the performances in this that kind of ground that ridiculous, driving force of the movie.
Yeah. And he sets the bar so high in that opening scene when you can really tell that there is like a true terror in his inability to remember who he is, when he's like, I don't know who I am. I don't know where I'm going. Like, he is so good at being able to capture the reality of what it would be like to like watch yourself behave but have no idea who you are. Like, it's so tied to what Cronenberg's doing in his late phase that it's all I could think about when I was rewatching this, because I had that on the brain.
Yeah. And I think that's so key to why he was the perfect casting choice for this, because you needed someone to have that vulnerability and like, young, scared boy look to him and like feel to him. You couldn't have someone like Schwarzenegger or like Van Damme play like, you know what I mean, this type of role. Like, they would not know how to like pull off that emotional beat to it. So by casting Matt Damon, you get the best of both worlds. And in the research, I'll get into it, but he trained like super hard to really sell the action scenes and the way he's handling the guns and everything. And it shows every time that switch clicks. It's like he's a whole different person. It's like his body language is different. The way he moves is different. Like, it's just, they did such a good job in really clarifying like where his lost, like not knowing who he is, where that goes, and where like the hitman assassin comes. It's like it's very clear and easy to understand.
Totally. There's like something also really funny about it, because it's kind of like that, the vibe of like cults and everything, where, you get programmed to think a certain way and act a certain way. And he is like encountering the fact that that's something that takes over him rather than something he chooses. And yet, as the film goes on, he chooses it more and more because he knows it's a strength of his. So rather than fight it or be afraid of it, like he kind of is in the open, by the end, he's just like a badass and knows exactly what to do in each of these situations. And like the character journey is so real in the story, even before you get into how amazing the action is that accompanies it.
Yeah, and I mean, it's all of us have that like part of us that like from our in our DNA of like our ancestors and being able to adapt
we grow up,
in nature and stuff like that. But we just don't do it because we're like a society now. And it's like there's no need to. So like to see someone like having to really struggle with that and like go back to those like base like instincts only, and how damaging that is like to him personally. And it affects, like, we do get the happy, ending together with the girl at the end, but they just completely tear that apart in the sequel, which like,
and I was going to say, I don't remember even what happens in the sequel because I don't revisit it as much as I do the original. Like I rewatch Bourne all the time, but not so much.
I remember it vividly because it just like fucked me up. It was like it's the opening scene of the sequel where like they find him and his girl and they kill her. Yeah.
Oh, well, at least they continued to follow the like rules of this genre and take it seriously. He has to. The stakes are really high for Bourne in more ways than one.
All these action guys, like Mission Impossible and James Bond, they cannot have a wife. They can mess around once in a while, but they can't have like a wife at home and a wife and kids. Like that's not possible with this lifestyle for sure.
That's right. Yeah, only in retirement is that possible. And Bourne is not retiring. His journey's only begun.
Just like Ethan Hunt and Tom Cruise is not retiring anytime soon.
That's right. Oh, yeah. So let's talk, like little trip ups and plot holes before we get into the filmmaking and the performances a little more, because there's so many fucking people in this movie too. And so I think the one thing that really tripped me up was I didn't realize they were going to use green screen in places where it makes no sense for people to use green screen. Why did they use green screen to fake a CIA cafeteria and to fake like the Senate, when I know there are absolutely adequate rooms to portray those things?
I'm guessing it was just it was probably either reshoots or like a scheduling thing, because in each of those scenes it was Brian Cox and what's the other guy too, right?
Chris
Cooper.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm guessing they were probably like, it probably was reshoots. They were filming something else, whatever. They had to do something last minute, and they just cheated with the green screen. But it is pretty bad, especially that like boardroom one. That was one I was like, oh man, this is super bad.
This is not good. Yeah, it just took me out of it. And I was like, damn, I wish that I almost wish they would go back and try to remaster and see if somebody could fix it, because it just seems like the whole rest of the movie is so visceral and grounded and real, and then in a cafeteria it's so clearly fake.
Yeah, I have the Blu-ray.
It just blew my mind because it makes no sense.
I have the Blu-ray, which I don't know if this is on 4K yet. I don't know. It might be. A lot of these action ones, they get 4K treatments, but it still looked bad on the Blu-ray. So,
oh no, damn!
How much they can do with it, It's sometimes it's like when it's filmed like that, there's nothing really you can work around it, But yeah, you can tell it was filmed early 2000s, but I think that's kind of a good thing. I do, like you said, I like the groundedness of the overall look of the film, and I do prefer this one to the sequel because they Greengrass kind of took that and like just went overboard with that. Like just the shaky cam is just does not hold up as much as it does in this one. But I really do like the third one. I think the third one actually is my favorite out of the series. Like I love Ultimatum.
The third
which
one
is rare.
So good.
It's rare that a third movie can be, as good or even better than the first one.
That's true.
So, but I do like how they ended it, and I hated how they brought it back for the fourth one. Like, because three has
true.
Three
sad days.
The reason I love 3 is it's such a perfect button ending. Like it's so perfect, and I remember for years. Yep. They would always ask him in interviews, Matt Damon, like, when are you gonna come back? We want to see more Bourne. He was like, like only if there's a good script for it. Like he was always, that was always his quote, like only if there's a good script. And then when I heard they were making Jason Bourne Part 4, I was like, oh God. Yep. I was like, okay. I was like, all right, he said it has to be a good script. So I'm gonna believe him. And wasn't
not so much.
Wasn't the best. Talk about Treadstone, more like retreadstone, huh?
Yes. Well, it's Top Gun Maverick hadn't come out yet. They didn't know how to wake up a franchise the right way.
They didn't have the formula. Okay. Yeah, I think Greengrass came back too for 4 too. So yeah, it wasn't the best. I like the Vegas. Vegas chase scene in 4 is pretty dope. But other than that, I don't remember. I remember Tommy Lee Jones looking old as hell in that as the new like operative. Like the
dude, so good. Yep. And Vikander, I think, right? Isn't Vikander
I think that's right.
New
early Vikander
person at the. Yes. Yeah, just this movie, it started a phase of filmmaking with that shaky cam that became pretty normal, pretty common. And I think that kind of loses the point of the shaky cam in this original film, which I think has more to do with the frantic nature with which this man is coming to understand his environment. Like his brain is able to make these decisions for him even before he thinks of the solution. And I think the camera work really reflects that, where in many ways it picks up when he's doing these things, and it moves in other ways when he's determining things. And it's just more coordinated to Bourne rather than
from his point of view.
Yes. Yeah. Rather than how in like the later ones, it just really starts to become more about, how cool you can shoot a sequence. And there's so much action in this movie. And even though I know there is action in the others, it just doesn't feel as good as the action here, where like shit's really blowing up and it's really on really tiny little streets. And, he's driving around a really tiny little car and doing crazy shit in it.
I love that it's in Europe too. Like Europe adds so much to the story too, because of, like you said, the small streets, and, you get so much out of the production value of that. And yeah, I was thinking too of like how Damon at this time too was like in Ocean's 11, and he was trying to get, and he was like a pickpocket in that too. So he was playing these like shifty characters at the time that like, could see 10 steps ahead, which like, the Bourne, it's like, I love one of my favorite, instances of him snapping into it is when like they're in the restaurant and he's like, I know all the exits, and she's like, big deal. So what? And he's like, I know that guy over there is 200 pounds and can handle himself. Like he just like started rattling off like, I know the best place to get a gun is the Great Cab outside, and just, oh man. And she's just like, at that moment, I feel like she's like, okay, this guy, there's something wrong with this guy. Like, who have I picked up?
Well, and he also, again, like to your point about him being the perfect casting, he's also able to somehow strike this balance between, I'm so scared of these talents of mine because they're scary, that you should both feel safe with what I say, because I'm telling you I can kind of keep us both safe. But it does make sense that you'd also maybe feel like you need to help me. Like there's this amazing chemistry between the two of them that I feel like is different than, the usual romantic track where there's like a strange kind of mutual respect where she's like, look, I don't know what you're into, but I feel bad for you. And I know that if I kind of help you out too, that protects me, but it also will make me feel like I'm connected to you, because he's vulnerable with her in a way, even though he's not like crying or something,
Right. And that's like what was one of my, it's not even a nitpick. It's just like a question of like, I understand the $10,000 was enough for her to initially take him or whatever. Do you think she would go along that far? Like after the murders start piling up, you know what I mean? Like I get the whole like attraction thing, but it's like at some point I do feel like there could have been more pushback, unless she just was like had the hots for Damon like way too strong, you know what I mean? Like where she wasn't thinking clearly
too. Totally. Because I was thinking like that's the weird thing too about relationships in these kinds of stories, is that we do cross a point where she kind of has to stay, because at a certain point I'm like, how could she trust the cops? Like there are several times he's like, you don't have to keep coming with me, like go to the cops. And I was just thinking every time, like they're not gonna believe her, like they can be,
they're gonna kill her too,
she has to stay with you.
They're gonna kill her too, probably.
It's the safest. Exactly. So I feel like it was one of those stories that walks a line where the actors and the writing create the right kind of chemistry so that it's not too, cagey or whatever.
I just wanted to ask the question. I wanted to pose the question because I feel like it's up to the audience that's watching it to decide, when would you leave? Or if you would be so attracted to Damon, you would stay the whole time. And she does leave at the end. She does leave all the way at the end. But that's after like multiple attempts on her life, police chases, and witnessing murders. A lot happened.
I feel like when they bust into her friend's house and he shows up with his kids, that is definitely another one of those situations where you're like, she probably should have driven away. Or like she probably should have been like, we should all leave and let him stay here.
That was tough.
And like we should all go somewhere else.
Exactly.
Because it was a little bit, it gets a little dodgy there, but I can't fault her. Like Damon's super hot. I don't know that he's the best babysitter. I think my favorite random part of this movie is that when they go to the friend's cottage and they're talking about like what's going on, and in the window you could just see Matt Damon standing at the swing set looking like so confused and lost with these children.
What are these aliens?
But it's also like
who are these
a
people?
good choice. Yes, like it works still.
It does.
And so I have to point it out as something so funny.
Some of the amnesia stuff too, where I was like, where does he doesn't know who is like what music he likes, but he knows how to please a lady. We know that.
DTF. He's definitely didn't forget how to fuck. So
did that count? Was that part of his training? Did that like kick in, or was that always there?
I mean, I have to think that it is part of the training for some sort of programming.
Right? Because James Bond.
Jennifer Lawrence's Red Sparrow taught me anything.
Seduction.
You got to use sex sometimes.
Seduction. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Again, that's another question I want to pose to you guys. Let us know.
Please.
What do you think? Was it part of his training? Was it all there the whole time? Who knows? And then the last one I had that makes me laugh every time is and it's the CGI too on it is pretty funny, is when he he falls from like the 3 floors up or whatever. It was
he uses
really
that
high.
guy as like a skateboard down or something.
And I'm like, he would just be dead, right? Like there's no, you can't, even if you land on top of another person, that's like so much force. Like you would definitely be breaking something, or like he walks away unscathed, like completely fine.
It's a real Austin Powers moment where they were like, look, people went for it
I forgot about that.
I think we can use it.
The human shield.
That's the first thing I thought. I was like, what? But it is a cool shot with, the camera going down and him sort of sliding on the rope. I just wish it was a rope and not, a body.
Or like, even if they like had made it a couple floors down, he falls from so high, like so unbelievably high.
And he like does jump. He also doesn't like just fall, like he straight jumps.
It was a Captain America like Winter Soldier move. Like it's not something we would be able to do.
Nope, not a human move.
Yeah.
Great aspirations though. Thank you so much to the filmmakers. Like, way to put in 110.
Yeah, exactly. Let's talk about some of the filmmaking and performances. We got, this film was written by Tony Gilroy, who wrote all of the Bournes, Michael Clayton, Rogue One, and The Devil's Advocate. Oh man, what a resume!
Right? Stellar. Yeah. Right, knows how to work with the greats, knows how to tell a great story, even if it's somewhat formulaic, still nails it.
And then as the director, we have Doug Liman, who did Swingers, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, another action romantic classic, Lockdown, Live, Die, Repeat, a Tom Cruise vehicle that we haven't done yet, but I love that one too. But he's got a pretty interesting resume too. Like, he knows how to make a really good action flick, and I think people forgot because he makes all sorts of different movies. But once he did Live, Die, Repeat, I was like, oh yeah, like there goes classic Bourne Identity Lyman. Like, like he reinvented the genre again. Like
he did,
So.
He really did, because I feel like Go and Swingers are his like 90s films that basically are the precursor to the kind of action he's going to shoot.
Yeah.
He's just shooting it more with like personality and the energy of the people. Yeah. And I feel like he just harnesses that, where he can now get that kind of energy out of just, a dude punching a dude in the face or like breaking a guy's legs. Like the action in Bourne is also so much more surprising than I'm ready for, because I, both am desensitized by the way film is doing action today, but also because the filmmaking is really complementary to the action in a way I really miss too.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw, there was like oh god, it's so annoying. Adam McKay and like Judd Apatow and Shonda Rhimes signed this thing to be like, we're going to re-examine how we portray gun violence in movies, given everything that's going on in America. And I was like, guys, it's not the movie's fault. Okay, you guys have been make this argument for like 100 years, and we still have action movies. Like,
also, go after Fortnite.
Right.
Get out of my movies and go after Fortnite. It's a constant battle, that game.
There's movies in every country.
But it's like way easier.
There's movies in every country that have action in them and guns in them. Like, why? No, stop. Don't come after my action movies. Don't come after the action genre.
None of the action movies are like, let's make a pit stop at the local school and shoot it up.
No,
like that's not happening in any of our movies. So I think we're good.
I guess there was a Republican like hero school shooter movie that came out like in the past couple years though, and I mean I didn't see it obviously, but
what?
Yeah, it's
oh my god,
it's like like their fantasy of like the good guy with the gun like comes in and saves the day. Yeah.
Also,
no.
An interesting group of filmmakers to say they're going to check the way they portray gun violence. I'm not.
Oh, man. Don't get me started. Adam McKay and Judd Apatow are on my shit list right now. After Don't Look Up and what was that? The dome one, the bubble.
Oh yeah.
I'm just
the bubble. Yeah. I was like, why the fuck can't I think about it? I literally covered it on Stream Queens, and I already have forgotten.
Both of them need to like go away. Like I'm just tired of them and their input on stuff. Like just.
Yeah, I feel like
you
just
had your day.
A good movie.
You had your day.
Shut up.
Right. And stop trying to be political. Like no one cares. Judd Apatow too was like one of the people that was like when Will Smith got slapped Chris Rock. He's like, Chris Rock could have fallen and died. Like just the most dramatic like Judd Apatow, your privilege is showing. Just stop talking.
So hard. Well, I think that's the thing too, is then go do, like, take an action rather than just say something.
Yeah, like,
so I think that's why I love talking about movies. Yeah, and I love watching good movies by auteurs and talking about it, because I think that's much more powerful than you releasing a fucking statement on your opinion about something after you made a movie that doesn't exist in reality.
Exactly.
You know? Like, it's just weird, because I feel like there's so much more that's able to be communicated in the art of like a 70s Cronenberg movie. And it's hilarious that today we're like signing a petition rather than, appearing at Cannes with a film that's going to challenge everybody's mind beliefs so that we might grow,
Yeah. I mean, film is political. Don't get me wrong. Film as an art form is political, but I do not want to, you just don't make it a thesis, whatever, of like what you like want to happen. Like, make it interesting. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
It's really silly.
We got off track here.
I like that. But I was going to say, I like that when we get to talk about the movies we talk about, we're out here looking for kind of like the goats of this genre.
Yeah.
And so I do like that a lot of the movies we get to talk about help us reconcile how far away film can get from the things that make it great. And this is a movie that's definitely trying to confront this idea of like, if you hide behind an identity, like you serve in the military or you're a policeman, you have a career where you wear a mask basically because you're supposed to, what does that do to your identity? And that's in this story. He doesn't want to kill these people, but no one, Tony Gilroy is not coming out and being like, this is so important because we really wanted to examine, you know what I mean? He's not going out and being a poster boy for anything. No. He just wrote a really good story that could challenge me to think about the reality. And that's the only job.
That's where the amnesia really helps, because it's not like he's struggling with his killing. It's he doesn't remember that he killed. You know what I mean? Like, so it takes a whole lot of baggage off of the table, I think. But yeah, that's a good point. I think too, like the fact that like the government agency is like the antagonist in these movies.
And it's also how those movies, I feel like there's a lot of conspiracy theory style action movies that exist, but if you look closely, they're usually people who are exploiting the government's protection, not necessarily the government, which I appreciate, because I feel like it's easy for everybody to exploit the government. And at least when we're looking at the shadow organizations, we can have more fun.
Yeah. And it's it's not the whole government either. Like, cause there's a scene really, I feel like they put in specifically where, the director of the FBI like sits down and is like, there was an attempt on this guy's life, and I didn't sanction that, so I hope none of you guys did. And like, so they made it like very clear, like you said, it's this like the secret sects within the FBI and stuff that are like trying to get which does happen. You know what I mean? Like, that's the CIA, the FBI, you can look into it. Like, there's lots of, murder attempts, assassinations that have legit happened. So I do think like that's another thing that's like realistic and grounded, like would actually happen. And the fact that, Bourne is unsuccessful and like fucked it up, and now they're trying to like cover their tracks. It's like, I root for Bourne. Yeah, I'm rooting for Bourne the whole time. Like, I want him to make it out with the girl, Of
course. I want him to get to a place where he can be his own person, just like I wish that could be true for Clive Owen. And,
the Clive Owen death is so sad. I forget how sad it is every time, like, because, he's an assassin and, he comes after Damon. Like I said, you're rooting for Damon, but when they have that moment in the field and he's like, you get the headaches. I get the headaches so bad. And it's like, oh man, like he is an instrument too from by the government. He's just in the same boat as Damon. So, it's so good.
Exactly. Oh, it's so good. Yeah. I feel like everybody does their job in this movie. They're all so well cast. And, because we got to kind of slide into our favorites, I'm glad you brought up the Clive Owen stuff, because I always forget it's him too. And then I get reminded and then I'm like, oh man, I fucking miss Clive Owen.
Clive Owen as an action hero. Yeah, as an action star.
Right? Love Clive Owen. Huge fan. Miss
Children
that
of
dude.
Men.
So glad
Children
he was
of
here.
Men, masterpiece.
Children of Men. Totally one of my all times. But Yeah, I feel like this one was hard because there were some stunts that it's like they're small stunts where I feel like in a movie today, no one would even like write in this extra little stunt that's just cool.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that there's like a couple of those in this movie. What stunt, was your favorite? What really sticks with you when you kind of think of Bourne?
I'm with you on that with some of the cool stuff. Like I want to save one for my, well, like, okay, there's the pen through the hand, which is like an iconic part of the movie where the guy pulls the pen out of his hand. And like, that might have to be my favorite stunt, because some of these I'm like, there's one that's like more of a kill that I think is cool. And the Paris car chase is good. I'll give you that. But I actually think the sequel has a better car chase. So, totally. Down the wire, I'm going to go pen in the hand. I'm making that decision right now, just like Bourne would. I'm sticking with my conviction. What about you?
Perfect. Perfect. I mean, for me, it's really just like the simple subtlety of when he kind of just climbs down the wall at the embassy, like real quiet, that's cool. Parkour style, just shimmying down the side of a building. Because I feel like, again, it's like one of those things where
when he steals the radio so he can like avoid them, which is like another like cool aspect where you're like, okay, you know what he's thinking because you see him doing all these little things. They don't explain it to you. You know what I mean? Like it's pretty right. You just have to follow Damon and his perspective. So yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah. Yeah. You learn with him, which is really awesome. And I like the subtlety of even something as simple as like knowing not to panic and to just climb down is kind of something that is a superpower in and of itself. Yeah. So I really appreciate that the stunts of this movie are really not just about shocking me with like fire or danger. They're also kind of about being like, look at how effortless it is for this guy to be a couple of stories up on a building on a really rattly balcony type metal thing, having dropped a bag and watching it fall and then just subtly climb down the building. No sweat.
It'll come to him. It'll come to him just like, at the beginning when they're speaking to him in like German or whatever, and he's kind of speaking in English and then, the German came and now he's switching in different languages. It's like, it's all going to come to him. It's cool. It's cool to watch that like transformation on screen. For sure. And you do get a cool explosion though too. I wanted another stunt honorable mention when he shoots that like explosive tank when he's for cover when Clive Owen is trying to snipe him. That's like such a dope sequence where again they don't explain why he's doing that, but then you see like Clive Owen looking for him through the smoke and you're like, oh man, he's just too good. Bourne is just too good.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I think even that sequence is just so baller. And honestly, that's my favorite kill is the Clive Owen stuff. And, that moment they share, but also just how fucking baller Matt Damon looks like reloading that shotgun and sort of like walking real cool. Like, I got a plan. I don't know what it is, but I do have it. And I'm just confident right now marching around in this like field.
Right.
It's just such a great,
and he shoots shoots in the air so the birds like go away. Like it's just all these little things again, like that don't explain, but you're seeing like through the mind of a hitman. What would the steps be? What he would take to take out another hitman?
Exactly.
Very cool.
So baller. What about you? What's your favorite kill?
I do want to honorable mention too, because you had this down as well, that I always forget about the fake out when like at the end when you think like there's another hitman about to take out Bourne, you're like, damn, another guy, but then it kills Coop. Kills C Coop, like you said. So but that's like a cool misdirect or whatever that they always do in these Bourne movies. They do that in the sequels as well. It's this kind of a staple of the Bourne franchise, which I like.
And it's also a staple, again, of the really good writing and what these movies kind of need to have going on so they can throw that suspicion. Because I think the Brian Cox, Chris Cooper stuff, it's the B storyline that you really need so that you can not be sure what's going to happen in the end, even though you kind of know, well, in the end, he's going to confront them somehow. And we get to sort of see what that somehow ends up looking like. And, the two of Brian Cox and Chris Cooper are so good in this. And I just love that, they get away with it, but they don't get away with it, right? They still hold each other accountable kind of the same way that like Bourne has to kill another assassin, like he's got to kill another statesman or whatever.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's why I like Ultimatum, because that's when he gets his like, just desserts at the end. Like he gets his revenge kind of in a way, on Brian Cox, and finds the answers he's looking for. But yeah, my favorite kill, because you picked the Clive Owen stuff.
Yep.
It's like a very small one, but like
so awesome.
I just thought it was so cool looking. Like it's at the end in that staircase fight. He's having a hand-to-hand combat with this guy, and he steals the guy's silencer, and it's like upside down, and he like sort of double shoot. He has his gun and then the upside down silencer, and he's like shooting him with both at the same time. And I was like, that was so baller. Like that was just what a baller move. Like It's so simple. And then and that guy just like is hanging on the ledge, just like dead from the double shooting. So
so awesome. So awesome. It's like not only does he keep surprising himself, but I think the filmmakers keep surprising us as the audience, and that surprising piece is what's so important about Bourne, because it's a unique kind of story where even as this franchise goes on, there's still so much to learn about himself and his life. And I like that they figure out a way to mirror that in the action sequences and mirror that in all the other pieces of storytelling. Like, this is just such a fucking good movie.
It really is. Yeah. We could talk about this for hours, but I know we're running out of time here. I did just want to...
what do you got on those special features?
Yeah, I'll share a couple of the special features. We got... as of 2014, this is the only film in the Bourne series with any resemblance to the plot of the book which it's based on, and it's still very loose adaptation, I guess, because these are based on some spy books. Not very surprising. You have to change some stuff up for the movies.
Totally.
The name Bourne came from Ansel Bourne, a preacher in Rhode Island who had the first documented case of dissociative fugue.
Identity
or amnesia. So
amnesia.
Yeah.
Oh snap. Okay, I wasn't sure if he like had a dual identity where he was like, oh, I'm an assassin and a priest, and I didn't know that.
I mean, I've been
watching Moon Knight. I'm getting confused.
We might need to cut this out of the pod, because we need to write preacher assassin like ASAP and get this thing going.
I'm down.
I don't want to give this
1,000%.
I don't want to give these gems out for free.
1,000%. Cut it out. Yep. Cut it out. Let's set a meeting. I'm so
in. Speaking of, Matt Damon trained in the Filipino martial art Kali for the movie, which involves using the aggressor's energy against him and conserving your own energy, which I think makes a lot of sense for a hitman to do. And since he's on the run, you do see him kind of defensively fighting, I would say, more. So I think that's accurate.
Yep.
And then the last one, which we kind of touched on, is that Doug Liman wanted the camera operator to be late moving to the camera, adding an edge to the photography. And he didn't let him watch the rehearsals. And that way he didn't know which character spoke next. And he was always like kind of, surprised about where to point the camera, which adds to that, feeling of, following someone on the run, or, trying to track someone, which I think it's really smart. I think it shows through in the final film.
Again, that's exactly what I appreciate about a great filmmaker, and about this film in particular, is the filmmaking is mirroring the story that they're telling. And even the DP is joining in on this collaborative process to do that. And God, I just fucking love movies so much.
That's what all the good movies should do. And I did want to shout out, because because we didn't get to talk about her a ton, but Franca Potenti, that she plays the girl Marie in the story, and I think her chemistry with Matt Damon is amazing. Like, they don't even need to really talk about it. It's just the scene where he's cutting her hair, I think, is just like, you can just see the chemistry right there, and how he's almost like he's almost like scared, like, again, that scared quality, and she makes the move on him. So I like her a lot in this movie. I think she killed it too.
Same. Yeah, she definitely holds her own.
I wish she survived in the sequels.
Me too. Me too. That is cold and heartbreaking, but that's what Treadstone's all about. So it makes perfect sense.
They pulled the Friday the 13th on her, like the horror movie thing where you kill the final girl in the next movie, and it's like, fuck.
Exactly.
It's like if you really like them, it's like you pretty much know like you're in dangerous waters in the next one, you know. So.
And yeah, it's like it follows all those rules. But yeah, they had something special, and I appreciate that, because it's not always easy to figure out a way to create romance in these stories. And this movie does a good job of finding a way to mix it in appropriately given the story we're telling, you know?
No, absolutely.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. Awesome. That wraps it up for us. Let's get the plugs in and scoot out of here. Remind the people where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at rampage_misfit and at my movie pages at misfit_minded on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And then, follow us on Instagram at Action Movie Buffs, and, like and review us on all the podcast platforms for sure.
Yes, please, please, please. And you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Shani B Movies. If you came late to this live show, you can find this episode of Movie Buffs on Spotify and Apple Podcasts this Friday. We're going to be off next week, which means that there'll be another retro episode, and it's the 35th anniversary of Predator. And
they dropped the new trailer for the new Predator, which we can discuss next week. Or the week after. Yep. When we'll be back for Face Off. Let's go. Oh, man. Face
Off. June's on fire.
Yes. Cage month.
Yes, June is on fire. It's Cage month. It's the best month of the year. It's my birthday month. So all the good things. And then just lastly, if you're really into streaming content, I'm doing Stream Queens later, talking Fire Island. So if you want to get your pride on, come through, please. But otherwise, oh shit, I got to get out of here. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks everybody for listening, and we'll catch you next time for another edition of Movie Buffs.